Hi guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Do me a favor, if you're not already subscribe, like the video, share it. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, it's simple. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about, this is an Israeli case. I'm horrible with pronunciation, something I never realized until I actually started doing videos. And I looked at how I was mispronouncing many things. So I'm probably going to butcher this poor child's name, but Tair, Rada, or Rada, I'm not sure which. So this one's kind of long. Unfortunately, you're going to see me reading a lot. There's no way for me to remember all this stuff. So sorry, you know. The other thing, if you don't agree with my videos, you don't like my videos, you don't like what I'm saying, then it's so simple just to click out, right? I have been getting crappy messages, and it's so easy just to click out and go on about life. You know, you don't need to tell me I'm a freak or I'm fat or I'm stupid. I don't need to hear it. I already know things, right? That's all I'm saying. It's just frustrating that people right now have entirely too much time on their hands, you know? Telling you, it's pathetic. I don't have time on my hands right now. I have too much to do. So, okay. So anyway, let's get back to Tair Rada. Gosh, I hope I'm saying that right. I don't mean any disrespect if I'm mispronouncing it. She was a 13-year-old schoolgirl living in Israel at the time of her murder. So in December 2006, I guess she decided to skip the last period at school. She stayed outside in the schoolyard with friends for a while. She went back into the school to get a drink of water. She was last seen by several students going up a staircase leading to a mid-floor of the 10th grade classes. Later that afternoon, when she failed to return home, her mother contacted the police and the search began. So that evening around 7 p.m., she was found murdered in a locked bathroom stall in the girls' bathroom at school. Her throat was slit twice and she had multiple cuts to her face, torso, and hands. According to the Evening News, the police theorized that classmates were responsible for her death. They dismissed this theory real quickly. The night of the murder, police detained a homeless person as a suspect. 3 days later, the police detained the school's gardener as well. Both men were released 2 days later. The fact that they were nowhere near the school, so they had a good alibi. December 11th, police detained and interrogated Roman Zadorov. Zadorov was a maintenance worker. He was Ukrainian, and he was a resident of Israel. So he didn't speak the language, okay? Supposedly he admitted to the murder, and he reenacted it. A day later, he recanted his confession. So what the police tried to say was that Tair had asked him for a cigarette. He said no, and so she began cursing at him. Her family and friends said, number one, she didn't smoke. She couldn't stand the smell of cigarettes. And they said she would have never acted rude or cursed. That's what they were saying the motive was, right? The police later claimed that the motive was sexual abuse. Zadorov suffered sexual abuse that Zadorov suffered by female classmates when he was an 8-year-old in the Ukraine, which caused a raging fit after he suffered continuous pestering by the school students during his work. That makes absolutely no sense. What? Because he had issues when he was 8? It doesn't make any sense. No alternative motive was ever presented by the police. The other thing that was an issue was the time of Tair's murder. It was initially determined to be between 1:20, the time she was last seen going up the staircase leading to the girls' bathroom, and 1:30, the time of the earliest testimonies of girls who were in the bathroom but claimed to have heard or seen nothing. However, Zadorov was at the school gate on the phone with his supervisor, starting from 1:23:09 p.m., according to cell phone records, and security guards saw him during that time span. Zadorov was waiting for his employer to bring him tile cement and only went back in the school after 1:30 p.m. 2 investigators can be seen on the interrogation footage discussing this problem of Zadorov's alibi. Students sitting near the staircase claim they didn't see anybody following Tair up the staircase to the girls' bathroom. The time of the murder was later modified to be between 1:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. A little after 2 p.m., Zadorov was sighted in the school cafeteria looking calm as usual. He continued his work as usual till 5:30 p.m. before going home. Both Zadorov's purported confession and the reenactment included false and incorrect information, including the location of the murder, the way the murder was committed, and the position in which the body was found. So apparently Zadorov, they took him back to the school so that he could, quote, act out what happened. And he started walking up to the wrong level, to the wrong bathroom. And then you see the detective step in and say something to him, and then all of a sudden he changes where he's going. Yeah. Then he, was showing where her body was located, which was wrong. How he slashed her throat, which was wrong. Yeah. He never said anything about the 7 blows to her head. It was just totally screwed up. There were partial footprints. They didn't match Zadorov's foot. They were seen in the toilet seat, the toilet tank, and the wall in between stalls number 2 and 3, suggesting that the suspect jumped to the next stall. Initially, the Israeli police leaked to the press that DNA samples from the crime scene were matched with Zadorov's. DNA and other mounting evidence were cited by the judge by remanding Zadorov in custody. So the judge said, oh yeah, there's mounting evidence and we have DNA and all that. And so he went ahead and locked this guy up. Wow. Later, when the indictment was filed, there was no DNA evidence. The DNA test results were inconclusive. A shoe print police expert by the name of Yaron Shore claimed to have found additional bloody prints on Tair Rada's jeans that matched Zadorov's salamander shoes. British shoe imprint expert Dr. Guy Cooper testified in 2009 that the stains could not be considered Zadorov's shoe imprint. That the stains were not shoe imprints. An FBI veteran shoe expert, William Badziak, also claimed in his 2013 testimony that these stains could not be determined to be Zadorov's shoe imprints, if they were even shoe imprints. His testimony was also dismissed by the courts. Hairs discovered at the murder scene did not match Zadorov's. 3 hairs on Rada's body belonged to 3 different unknown people. Wow. Not all of the hairs found at the crime scene were tested for DNA, since the police told the crime lab to stop all tests once Zadorov confessed. What in the actual... What do you mean you stopped all testing when he said he did it? Who cares? You still do the testing. Like, what the heck, man? What is wrong with these people? A total of 150 biological samples from the crime lab were tested. None of them matched Zadorov. The murder weapon, according to the confession and reenactment, was a snoot. The murder weapon, according to the confession and the reenactment video, was a smooth blade utility knife. The murder weapon was never found. And in his confession, Zadorov said that he placed it underneath the tile that he'd been laying that day. The tiles were removed, but the knife was never found. Well, gee, go figure. I wonder why. 2 senior forensic experts later testified that the murder was committed with a serrated edge knife. All of Zadorov's effects were tested, but none showed any blood. Well, go figure. Media reports in the early days after the murder criticized the Israeli police for searching through the vast areas of the Golan Heights and the Galilee instead of focusing on suspects within the school building. You think? One of the students later testified that she saw underneath the bathroom stall where the murder was committed. She saw Tair's Puma shoes and she saw blood. Wow, the murderer could have been in there at the time. A long list of students went through the bathroom around the time of the murder, while Tair apparently struggled with the murderer. Jeez. Tair's mother stated on many occasions that she didn't think Zadorov was a murderer. She believed the murderer was someone from Tair's world. She went on to say she believed the murderers were high school students and she believed they were members of a satanic cult. I'm not sure what made her think that, but yeah. The trial commenced January 2007 with the filing of the indictment in the Nazareth District Courts, followed by the September 2010 initial conviction. In October 2010, Zadorov appealed his conviction. In March of 2013, remand to the Nazareth District Court for additional review of the evidence. And February 2014, supplemental judgment again, convicting Zadorov. What in the heck is wrong with these people? I guess they'd rather have somebody in prison, even though he's not the murderer, than no one at all, apparently. Meanwhile, there's murderer running loose in Israel. On December 23rd, 2015, the Israeli Supreme Court denied Zadorov's appeal by a 2-1 decision in a panel of 3 judges. Wow. So he's still sitting in jail for this. I don't understand. I mean, I can understand in his case, he couldn't speak the language. Maybe they just got the best of him. I don't know, but it's just, I don't know. It's just sad. Okay, so in 2016, a 4-part documentary TV series was aired in Israel called Shadow of Truth, reviewing the murder and Roman Zadorov's conviction. The 4th episode revealed never before heard testimony of a man named Abir Habanki, but referred to him on the show as AH. He told police in 2012 that his ex-girlfriend, they referred to her as AK, whose real name is Alushka Korbashenko, had admitted to killing Rada. She even showed her boyfriend a knife and bloody clothing that she had in a bag. Following Adir's testimony, his ex-girlfriend was arrested by police for suspicion of murder. While she was under house arrest, she left her home and tried to kill someone and was subsequently sent to a psychiatric hospital without being interrogated any further about Rada's murder. Wow. Well, at least she's in a psych ward. At least she's not able to kill anybody else. Along with his own lawyer and Zadorov's public defender, Adir claims the investigation had been whitewashed. Yeah, hello. I think we kind of already know this Roman Zadorov guy. He didn't do it. Okay, so Tair, I was able to bring her through. We talked a little bit. She said, it's not something she likes to remember or bring up, but she would do her best. Yeah. So she started off by saying that there were 3 girls at school there were 3 girls at school that tried to antagonize her. And this happened, I guess, just prior to her death. I asked if she was okay naming them, and she said she will absolutely not name anyone. She went on to say that she has family in the area still, and she didn't want to put them in jeopardy in any way. I brought up how her mom had always suspected the murderers were kids from the high school in a satanic cult. She said, my mom's a smart woman. So she then goes on to talk about how she knows her mom is lonely without her dad. Her dad, I guess, crossed over, passed away. So she said that last day she went in to go to the restroom. She went to open up the stall. Someone came behind her and shoved her in the stall. She felt dull, achy pains. She continued to feel like these dull, achy pains all of a sudden, like in her body would as her body jerked, I guess. She somehow managed to turn around. She came face to face with the girl. She goes on to say that she recognized the girl. Yeah, she recognized her, but she said she looked different and she couldn't put her finger, but something didn't look right. So I'm wondering if that was because when I did all this research that they had said that they thought the murderer had put on a wig, because I guess they had found hairs that were part of a wig. Maybe I'm wrong on that. If I'm wrong, I apologize. The girl, while she's stabbing her, I guess she began mocking her and pretending to cry. Okay, so while all this is going on, she heard the door open and she assumed was the main door to the bathroom, and she thought, okay, I'm going to be saved. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. She said she had been praying in her head, and she thought, okay, this is the answer to my prayers. I'm going to be okay. By this point, the girl had overpowered her pretty well. She had her mouth covered and she had control over her. She had her leg over top of Tair's leg and squeezing, holding on to her. Tair went on to say she thought she was screaming at the top of her lungs for help. Then she realized that nothing was coming out. You know, the girl's hand was over her mouth. Nothing was coming out. Someone actually went like to try to open up the bathroom stall, and her attacker said, it's occupied, you know. But Tair went on to say the girls that were in that bathroom had to have known something was going on, because she said, you know, it was constant. They were fighting back and forth and banging up against the center wall to the next stall and banging up against the door to the stall. And she said there was no way that people didn't know what the heck was going on in that stall. Like, you know, there's just no way. So I went on to say she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to go any further with it. And I went on to say, do you know who the girl was? And she said she knows who the girl is, but she refuses to name names. And I said, is it someone that they suspected? And she said, yeah, partly. That's all I got. It was partly. Yeah. She went on to say again, to reiterate, that she was not going to name names and put her family in jeopardy. You know, she said it was already bad enough that the police botched, you know, their investigation. And I said, can you answer this? Was someone at your school that was going to school with you at the time involved? And her answer was, I'm not going to name names, but there were more people involved than what's been said. She went on to say they weren't necessarily involved in that they didn't physically participate in anything, but they were involved in that they were aware that it was going on and that it had happened, and they said nothing. So I can't imagine. Yeah. So I mean, this was kind of tough for her. She really is in fear for her family. Yeah. Another senseless, sad one, y'all. I mean, no reasons. You know, there's no reason. There was no reason why this happened. I mean, it's just screwed up. Oh, yeah. God. The other thing, she said 4 people total. That she felt 4 people total were like the main people involved. She knows that 4 people either participated, which one person participated in killing her, but she said the other ones, they knew what was going on. So that's interesting. 4 people. Yeah. All right, guys, that about does it for me. Be kind, be nice to one another. We can get through this pandemic. Hopefully this virus is going to be over with pretty soon, or they're going to come out with a vaccine and everything's going to be okay. Okay, guys, take care. Bye.